All right, so let's take a look at Kristen's stance here. So really simple, as far as the stance goes, you need to set your stance in a way that's gonna allow you to squat between your legs, all right? So if her stance is too narrow, you can even bring your feet in a little bit. Yeah, if her stance is too narrow, you can already see that if she squats down, her torso is gonna run into her thighs, right? So we need to squat in between our legs, not over our legs. So a really simple kind of hack for this is to go shoulder width apart, right? Go ahead, shoulder width apart, and then toes out. We say 30 degrees, all right? Now, what's 30 degrees? Some of you guys, maybe in this room, I have clients who have tape and use a protractor to get it precisely 30 degrees. I think that's really weird, and it like speaks of this neurosis that I am concerned about, right? So look, here's a line, right? Here's 0, there's 90, there's 45, right? So just back it off of 45 and don't make it too wide, all right? That's it, just out, all right? More than you want. So really what we're looking for is that your heels are kind of right below your hip joints, all right? So nobody in here is shaped super weird, but you know, if you ever encounter somebody who's got really wide hips, the shoulder thing's not gonna work. It's gotta be the hip. So her heels are kind of right outside her hips, all right? We all good? So let's all do this together. So everybody put your stuff down, give yourself a little bit of room. Now, I want you to watch Kristen first, and will you turn sideways for me now, Kristen? I want you to watch Kristen first, and then I'll tell you when to do this. So whenever we do everything, you're gonna do it on my go and my count, all right? So, I'm gonna teach her how to squat right now, and the way she's gonna execute this movement is exactly the way she's gonna squat from the moment she does the empty bar until one day when she squats 405. It's the exact same thing, all right? So again, this is really, really simple, all right? It's simple, not easy, but it is simple, okay? All right, so go ahead and put your hands together like this, Kristen, all right? So I'm gonna give her 3 targets, or 3 index points. And I think that's really important because if you give yourself things to touch and targets to hit, you'll hit them more accurately, okay? So it's gonna be very clear what I'm gonna be looking for. Okay, so she's gonna squat down, and when she squats down, there's 3 things she's gonna do. Number 1, your butt, Kristen, is gonna touch the back wall, all right? So butt's gotta touch the back wall. The middle of her chest is gonna touch the floor between her feet. All right, middle of the chest touches the floor between her feet. And then the third part is this part of her elbows, right above the elbow joint, right here, is gonna touch the inside of her knees, right here, and she's gonna shove her knees out, okay? So butt back, chest down, shove the knees out with the elbow, all right? As far as the eyes go, just put them on the floor, like 4, 6 feet in front of you. Just stare at the floor. We'll talk about why in just a minute. But stare at the floor, butt back, chest down, knees out. You got it, Kristen? All right, go slow, go ahead. Shove the knees out. Very good, very good. All right, that looks great. Now, every time I do this with somebody, they get into a perfect squat. So look at this position, guys. And she might be a little bit high, fine, I'm not worried about that right now. The crease of the hip below the top of the knee, that's proper depth. But more important, what I'm looking for is the back angle. See how bent over she is, all right? Now, everybody's back angle is gonna be slightly different. It's okay, doesn't matter. It's as much back angle as I can get out of her, all right? Most important thing, everybody look at her knee position. Look at the front of her knees relative to her shoes, all right? You're gonna see that the front of her knees is about right in line with the front of the shoe, or the knee is right over the big toe, all right? That's the target, okay? Now, from here, Kristen, don't do it yet, I'll tell you when. You're gonna stand up, and when you stand up, you're gonna lead with your hips. So your hips are gonna lead the movement. Keep your chest down while you drive up with your hips. Ready? Go. Very good, okay. Now, that's exaggerated, all right? And everybody exaggerates it the first time. That's perfectly fine. Exaggeration at this point is fine. And if you exaggerate it when you're doing it yourself, great, perfectly fine, all right? But there's a really subtle thing that she did there, which is actually not right, which we're gonna fix right now. Rather than her hips coming up, where did they go? Who saw it? They went back, right? So you guys saw her knees extend, and then she didn't come upwards, all right? So, but that's just the feature of the way I explained it. All right, that's not a problem, okay? But notice how she nailed the bottom position. Thinking about shoving the elbows with the knees gets you in exactly the right spot. It gets you in perfectly calibrated bottom position. Okay, go ahead and go down again, Kristen. Shove the knees out, good, good. All right, make sure you're in balance. Rock back just a little bit right there. Okay, all right, so this time, hips again, but this time come straight up. So all of you is gonna come straight up at the same time, leading with the hips. Ready? Go. Very good, very good. You guys see the difference there? It's very subtle, not a big deal, but it's up, not back. You guys that have the book, there's a picture in there of Ripito standing on a ladder, and there's like a kid down at the bottom of the squat, and he's got the chain, right? And that's a perfect visual for this, right? Think about Ripito standing on a ladder, giving you an atomic wedgie, and that's the hip drive in the squat. All right, let's do it again. So here's what I want you to do next. Once you've got it down, the next time I'm gonna tell you to go faster, all right? And there's a specific reason for that. So we're driving the hips up again, keeping the chest down, come straight up. Ready? Go, faster. Very good. All right, pay attention to her back angle, guys. She's not lifting up. If I hadn't told her how to do this, or if she had no experience, she would immediately try to get up, right? So that's what we're trying to ingrain at this point. All right, one more time. Eyeballs down, good, shoving the knees out, up faster this time. Very good, very good. All right, awesome, good. You can. So we're gonna do it really slow the first time. So I want you to feel like every angle as you're coming up. I want you to feel your hips leading this movement, all right? You should actually feel like your hips are driving up and standing you up. All right, second time we'll go faster, third time we'll go even faster. The reason I want you to do it faster is to put a little bit of pressure on yourself and see if you screw it up. Right? So if you think about every single step, it's really easy, right? If you say to yourself, okay, chest down, driving the hips, go faster, then you can do it, and then I'll be able to see, and I'll remind you to keep your chest down. All right, so that's the point here, is put a little bit of pressure on yourself. It works really, really well to kind of see if that positioning and that movement holds from rep to rep. Are we clear? All right, so if you guys would kind of come a little bit closer, spread out a little bit, go ahead and get your stance, and then Grant and I are gonna walk around, make sure your stance looks okay for the most part. All right, so everybody eyes on the floor, hands are together, okay? So remember the three components. Number one, your ass has to touch the back wall. Your chest has to touch the floor in between your legs, and your elbows are gonna shove your knees out. Do all three things, all right? Everybody down slow, on me, hold on. Ready? Go. And then hold that position, just hold it. Shoving the knees out, don't forget that part. Very good, all right. Keep your eyeballs on the floor. We're all gonna stand up together on my go, all right? Remember, hips are gonna drive, keep your chest down. Keep your chest down, drive the hips up, slow and smooth. Ready, go. Hell yeah, awesome. All right, let's do it again. Ready, down. Ass back, chest down, knees out. A little faster now. Keeping the chest down on the way up. Ready, go. Very good, very good. I'm watching, I don't wanna see any chest popping up. Keep the chest down. All right, we're gonna do one more time. All right, on my go on the way down, on my go on the way up. So ass back, chest down, knees out. Ready, go. Chest down on the way up, ready, go. Very good, very good. All right, cool. Everybody feeling that? Does everybody feel? As you're going down, you should feel like a stretch in your inner thigh muscles, right? You should feel a little bit of a stretch back in your hamstrings or your glutes, somewhere back in the back. You should be stretching down into the bottom. And then once you've got that tension, it should feel kind of like a spring unwinding, right? And you just kind of drive up from there. All right, that's the whole idea. We're gonna load the hips on the way down. The way you load the hips is by limiting the movement of your knees, okay? So if you guys pay attention, can I have you again, Kristen? If you guys pay attention, when Kristen squats down, her knees move forward and then they stop right when they get to the front of her shoe, all right? Her back angle is getting more horizontal the whole way down, all right? Go ahead and stand up again. So let's look at this for a minute. So here's Kristen's center line right about here. All right, here's the front of her shoe about here. That's like that far, okay? Whatever that is, 4 inches. If you're a dude, it's like 8 inches, whatever, but it's like that much, all right? Her hips at the bottom, go ahead and squat all the way down. Her hips are here, all right? Go ahead and stand back up. So her hips have gone this far. So at the bottom of her squat, her hips have traveled that far and her knees have traveled that far. And that happens simultaneously, right? It happens at the same time. So the knees come forward, the hips go back. At the same time, the hips have to travel this distance. The knees only have to travel this distance, right? So the sequence there is your knees go first, right? Because the hips will take care of themselves. Knees go first, but you also have to bend over. And how fast do you have to bend over? Really fast, right? Because your back has to go through all this angle on the way down. So it feels wrong, it feels weird because our default is just to squat straight down. So your knees gotta go forward, at the same time your back has to go wham, like this, all right? So again, thinking about your butt touching the back wall at the same time that your chest touches the floor, that tends to take care of it for you, all right? Make sense, guys? The problem is that when we get under the bar, you don't have your elbows there, right? So your brain has to control the knee movement. It gets a little dicier then, because now you've got to stop your knees with your brain rather than your arms giving you a target, and now shit gets real hard. So you got to stop your knees from moving, okay?